changing names, identifying information to protect myself from additional drama. If you like a good effed around and found out, you'll love this story. The cast of characters are Dad, Uncle, and Granddad. A few years ago, Granddad died in a rehab facility as a result of gross negligence. Dad and Uncle opened a lawsuit on behalf of Granddad's estate. It drags on and looks like it's going nowhere. 2 years ago, Dad died a couple of months after a cancer diagnosis. It was sudden, and Uncle had promised him his kids were now his. He'd look out for us. I was the executor of Dad's estate and did the usual business of selling property, closing accounts, etc. Since Uncle was the executor of Granddad's estate, I asked him if it was still open and what the lawsuit status was. Uncle said the lawsuit went nowhere and the estate was closed. This is where I made a mistake. I took him at his word. Dad's estate was settled and closed last winter. My siblings and I split everything according to the will, and life continued. In April, Uncle called me to tell me he wanted to gift my siblings and me a small amount of money. The lawsuit on behalf of Granddad was paying out, and Uncle wanted to give us $10,000 to split. Then, he told me Dad's estate needed to be reopened to claim it. There were so many red flags you would think the circus was in town. I played nice, thanked him, and immediately called the courthouse where Granddad and Dad's estates were established. The clerk told me not only was Granddad's estate still open, but there was also a large bond on a sum of money recently placed. Did I want the name of the lawyer on file? Yes, I did. I called the lawyer, and the receptionist exclaimed that they were trying to find my contact info. The lawyer gets on the line, and as one of the beneficiaries, he's able to fill me in on everything. Right after Dad was diagnosed, the lawsuit for Granddad was settled. Dad died without knowing the rehab admitted their part in causing his father's death and paid out a settlement. The money sat in limbo for 18 months through the funeral and the sale of properties. The first business day after Dad's estate closed, Uncle petitioned for the release of funds as the sole beneficiary. The estate lawyer discovered Uncle wasn't the sole beneficiary and requested my contact info, which Uncle claimed he did not have. The lawyer tells him that my siblings and I were still his beneficiaries even though Dad's estate closed. We were entitled to Dad's share. This is when Uncle called me with this tale of wanting to gift us a small amount. The total sum of the lawsuit after taxes and the lawyer's fees was around $150,000. Since Dad and Uncle were the sole beneficiaries of Granddad's estate, they would each get half. Guys, I was furious. I called the siblings and we agreed to play it cool. The lawyer for Granddad's estate knew Uncle was being shady and never intended to split the money, so he refused to release the funds to Granddad's estate. The checks would go to Uncle and Dad's estate directly. I decided to bide my time with Uncle and not reveal the extent of what I knew. 2 more months go by, the estate is reopened, and the bank account is established. This is when Uncle finds out through the lawyer that the funds would not be given to Uncle to disperse, but would go directly to the beneficiaries. Uncle calls me spitting mad, saying he did all the legwork of getting the lawsuit done and deserved payment. He felt giving us $10,000 was fair. I told him the courts had a system for that sort of thing and he would get his hours time through the lawyers. Uncle went into a rant that Dad owed him money and that Uncle would bill us for so many hours we would get less than $10,000 if we didn't agree to the 10. I told him to try. Uncle did try. Granddad's estate lawyer wouldn't say how many versions of the application he rejected before they arrived at an acceptable rate the judge would agree to. Uncle wanted us to pay for a grave plot since Dad died first and took the last plot in the family graveyard. He wanted repayment for all sorts of things that had nothing to do with Granddad's estate. The poor estate lawyer had to try to beat estate laws and inheritance into Uncle's head. But Uncle was determined to take both his share and Dad's. I'm the executor, and they don't deserve a thing. My siblings and I accepted the first reasonable rate and walked away with half of the remaining balance. Uncle never realized the sum would come off the top, not deducted from Dad's share alone. Despite the paper trail of deception he left, he still feels he's the victim and we stole from him. The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It comes from friends and loved ones. After months of stress and struggle, my mom told me of a wonderful resolution to a story I knew all too well. Here's the cast, names changed. Tess, my mom. Karen, event planner. John, Tess's lawyer. For context, Tess is the vice president of a prominent nonprofit organization. which we'll call HC for the sake of simplicity, whose main focus is to aid and protect pets, as well as improve the situation of animals with no home. Karen worked for HC under the role of an event planner, and one of the events that the entire board of HCA, as well as Karen, had come up with was a fashion show. The event name must remain anonymous for reasons later revealed, but the main idea was that all the proceeds of the fashion show would go towards HCE's animal relief provisions. After the event was set in stone months in advance, Karen quit for reasons unknown and instead joined a competing and less humane animal organization. Here's where the problem arose. Karen began advertising HC's event name all over social media, but changed many essential details. She changed the date, time, and that the proceeds would go towards the place of her new employment. Little did she know, using the same name would not only cause much confusion among attendees, taking away HC's much-needed profit, but as everyone would later discover, it was also completely illegal. Tess reached out to Karen in a polite email asking her to simply change the name of the event she was hosting for the competing organization, explaining that it would be harmful to the profit of HC's event. Karen flipped. She responded back to Tess saying that she would not change the event name under any circumstances. Karen posted all over social media saying that HC was a corrupt organization and that she hopes no one will attend the event of such a disgusting organization. She also thought it would be appropriate to reach out to the place hosting HC's event and tell them to cancel HC's event and, instead, host her company's event. They, of course, refused. Tess had come home many nights crying, upset that something as trivial as this was going to, in the long run, take away valuable profit from HC and the animals they're attempting to relieve. The publicity alone that Karen had attracted would bring irreparable damage. So, after much consideration and counsel with her board members, Tess reached out to her organization's lawyer, John. Payback time. John reaches out to Karen and her organization in an email detailing that what she was doing was unlawful, and if she refused to comply with HC's request, she'd be sued for her damages. Apparently, even if she did have a hand in coming up with the event, she was under the employment of HCU when it was created, and being an employee, all the intellectual property rights went to HC by default. This was actually detailed in terms of general employment agreements, but I suppose that one more person failed to read the terms and conditions. This time, Karen took it up a level of immaturity, responding to John in a nasty and disrespectful email, maintaining her new routine of attacking HC on social media. But this time, she got many of her co-workers and friends to as well. So, what was Tess and John's response to this? They sued. Court day comes, and I'll spare all the lengthy legal details. The outcome was 1. File for bankruptcy, or 2. Post an apology and a statement that HC was in the right and that she fully supports them, that they had all rights to the event, and that she must sell $30,000 worth of tickets over the next 2 years. It's an annual event. A disgruntled and hesitant Karen chose number 2. As of now, John and Karen are collaborating on a public apology, and she's got a hell of a lot of tickets left to sell. My dad just shared a story about my late Uncle Dale, his lifelong friend and fellow engineer. So in his memory and in spirit of the upcoming holidays, I present for you the tale of Nepotism, engineering students, and Adina Menzel. Uncle Dale was a senior engineer at a small firm in the Midwestern USA and engineering instructor at the local community college. He was also, unofficially, in charge of the office parties. To help offset the costs, he had a small tin box on a table outside of his office with a slot in it so anyone could donate money to the party fund. Everyone knew about it and were happy to donate. A month or so before the company's big Christmas party, Uncle Dale decided to check the box. Lo and behold, it was empty. Uncle Dale knew something was wrong because he had seen several colleagues putting money in the box. This could only mean one thing. Someone was stealing from the party fund. At this moment, Brad, the owner's nephew and a fellow engineer, came around the corner, and something about the way Brad was looking at him made Uncle Dale suspicious. Brad didn't have a good reputation around the office, to say the least. He had a reputation of being pushy, obnoxious, rude, and just plain entitled. Unfortunately, he was not only the owner's beloved nephew, but knew how to skirt the rules so he wouldn't get fired. Uncle Dale decided to set a trap to catch the thief. Using his engineering skills, he set up a hidden rig using a hidden doorbell camera right by the box. He then had a colleague loudly brag about how he contributed $100 to the party fund. Then, he waited. He got a notification that the camera was recording and watched Brad open the empty box, scowl in disgust, and throw the box against the wall. Now you'd think this would end with Uncle Dale presenting the video evidence to his boss to get Brad fired, but oh no. As I mentioned in the previous post, if there's one thing engineers love, it's solving problems. And if it's engineering students, they'll make it an experience to remember. Uncle Dale then went to his engineering students. He offered them extra credit to come up with a rigged box that would make noise when opened. The more obnoxious the sound, the higher the bonus. 1 week later, they delivered their project and demonstrated how it worked. Pleased with the results, Uncle Dale awarded them the extra credit as promised. The next day, he set up the rigged box and proclaimed, "Well, isn't this nice?" Someone donated $50 to the party fund. Then he went to his office and waited. The engineering students had rigged the box with one of those inserts from cards that play music when you open them. By popular vote, they had picked Let It Go from the Disney movie Frozen, right around the time the song was beginning to become unpopular. They also managed to ensure that once opened, the box couldn't close unless you pressed a hidden side button releasing the hinge, so the song would continue to play. For extra funsies, they made sure to angle the insert for maximum volume and secured it down with industrial-strength glue. Sure enough, everyone in the office heard it in the Menzel belting the hated song and Brad's frustrated grunts while trying to close the box. One of those attracted by the sound was Brad's uncle. Finally, Brad chucked the box at the wall, managing to put a good-sized dent in it. The uncle then summoned Brad to his office. 15 minutes later, Brad left with a cardboard box and cleared out his desk, along with a note in his file, "Do not rehire. Do not recommend." So his engineering career was over. That Christmas, Uncle Dale had a little video prepared to show at the party. The doorbell camera had caught Brad's attempt to steal from the box, all to the tune of Let It Go. So check this out. I'm chilling at my buddy Mike's place, right? Mike's is his vet, fought in Afghanistan, got the scars to prove it. Super cool dude. Anyways, he's got this legit army flag hanging in his front yard. Not just any flag, man. It's a piece of his history, you know? So last weekend, we're grilling burgers, having a couple of cold ones, just soaking in the sun. Everything's cool until this Corinne-looking lady, all uppity and entitled, strolls by with her little rat-sized dog on a leash. Now, this lady, let's call her Lady Mess Entitlement, gives us the stink eye like we just slapped her grandma. I'm thinking, okay, maybe she doesn't like the smell of barbecue or something, but oh no, it gets way crazier. She spots Mike's army flag, you know, the one that screams, "Hey, I fought for this country," and goes, "You can't have that flag here. It's racist or something." I nearly choke on my burger. I'm like, "Lady, do you even know what you're talking about? That flag represents my dude's service, not some political statement." But she's not having it. She goes off on this rant about how it's un-American to have any flag except the stars and stripes on American soil. Mike, being the chill guy he is, tries to explain, "Look, lady, I bled for this country. This flag means something to me." But does she care? Nope. She whips out a lighter from God knows where and starts threatening to burn the damn thing. I'm not having it, man. I snatch that lighter from her hand like she's trying to set fire to a library. She goes ballistic, screaming about her rights or whatever. Mike's trying to keep his cool, but you can see the storm brewing in his eyes. Corinne, or Lady Miss Entitlement, whatever you want to call her, doesn't back down. She's on a mission to turn that flag into ashes. Next thing I know, she snatches the flag from its pole and tries to make a run for it. I'm like, oh, hell no! I chase after her, and it turns into this ridiculous scene of me trying to wrestle the flag back while she's screeching like a banshee. Finally, I manage to grab the thing, and here's where it gets good. She starts yelling that I assaulted her or some crap. Like, "Lady, you're the one trying to commit arson on a vet's flag, and I'm the bad guy." Nah, not today. Mike's on the phone with the cops at this point, and they roll up just as this nutjob is threatening to sue me for damages or whatever. Long story short, they take statements, check security cameras, and this lady ends up getting slapped with a vandalism charge. Justice served, right? But the crazy part? She's still arguing with the cops, telling them they're American for defending a racist flag. I'm standing there, flag in hand, thinking, what the actual hell just happened? Turns out, this Karen had a history of causing drama in the neighborhood. I guess we were just the lucky winners that day. Anyways, we're back to grilling burgers and chilling, but now we got a good story to tell. And that Army flag? It's still hanging proud, weathered but unburned. Lady Misentitlement learned a lesson, and we got a tale to tell at every backyard barbecue from now on. Life, man, it's never boring.